Oh, wow, that was a really intense day. Yeah. Hello. So, welcome back to the Vision Denial, but specifically where we're going to be clearing vision for MSI on day 2. My name's Sebastian or Sam, either or, I go by both. And as a pre-phrase over here, I spent a long time editing the video yesterday, or the day before, because it's past midnight now. Um, I live in Eastern time. Always gonna try to upload a video before 3 a.m. Eastern time, which means midnight Pacific time, which would be the 6 hours before the next day starts. With that little business out of the way. Oh right, and I found a way to make it easier. I'm gonna be manipulating things as it happens in video. See, I can move the little icon here easily peasily with no issues. Instead of having that weird editing thing where I made sounds. I thought that was really annoying. Let's get down to business though, as we had very intense days. So let's do the first set of games. We got ourselves first PGG. Oh right, and before I mention anything else, so this is what I thought was essentially the power ranking, and I don't think I explained it. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, right? As expected, right? Or not as expected, but like this is what the tiers would look like currently because Vietnam doesn't participate, otherwise Vietnam would be over here. Teams will shift between tiers as they go, so like first to third, and so on and so forth. Just so that it's clear that what's going on. It's not like first through four and going down this way. It's up to down, left to right. That being said, let's get started. So first off, we've got our first set of games with RNG. First one being Pentanet versus RNG. And these RNG games are just going to show that they are leagues above the tier 2, the tier 3 and tier 4 teams. And Unicorns of Love currently I have slated as a tier 2 team, but on the most chances they're usually a tier 3 team, at least to me. So it'd be usually them jockeying for place over here. But, you know, for the moment in time being, for this conversation, they're leagues above anything they can do. So let's take a look at mostly how the other teams responded. And in this case, PGG, you're creative, but you're doing things interestingly in draft that I don't think age you. I see engage, but engage that doesn't assist the Juggerma or the Kog'Maw with an enchanter. It doesn't do anything, right? It has a lot of late game disengage and solid engage with some front to back available to it, but the Kog'Maw in and of itself needs a lot of resources that you could not permit to work, because if you didn't put enough resources into your other lanes, the actual front to back itself can't exist, nor does the engage work. So RNG took advantage of it. Now RNG, I'm not a bigger fan of their compositions, but at this moment they know perfectly well what the win conditions are for both teams, that they're just steamrolling through it. I'm playing it, I wouldn't say perfectly, but playing it close to flawlessly. I think that PGG is doing really well in terms of keeping up defensive visions. Unfortunately, it's inefficient in a lot of cases, so they do get knowledge and information from it, but yeah, and there wasn't really much that happened with this particular game. And it's really unfortunate because I think PGG could get a lot more done from it if it wasn't for like a lot of other stuff, as I'm just looking over here. Um, and I don't know. it's really unfortunate to just like look at it because it was just like a train wreck, just slowly, or not slowly, but quickly happening to them. Eh, what are you gonna do about it? PGG's real competition at this point is trying to see if they can beat out Unicorns of Love. With that, let's head off to actually talk about the Unicorns. Because the Unicorns, I think, had a much better go at it. So let's just set that up over here. And, oh right, and before I go, PGG is now down 3 games, so they're 0-3, and RNG are up 2-0 at the time of this game happened. But, of course, RNG will be up 3-0 after this game happens, while Unicorns are 1-1. But, getting ahead of myself with it, I couldn't believe it personally, because like where the first game was really really quickly done, the second game was much slower, and it tells me that RNG respects the Unicorns much more, like on fundamentally on like a better level. And it would be nice if they didn't do things like pick Trundle. And I personally think that done right, I think Trundle would be a great addition to top lane as a counter pick to Orns, to Scions, and all the rest of that. Their laning phases tend to be fine, but it was used for the jungle, and it had very slow clear. It was like ineffective during most of the fights. It had no pressure, and RNG just literally had to like balloon leads through just laning phase. And again, like PGG, UOL, Unicorns had very good vision regarding like defensive capabilities, and it was a lot more effective than the ones that PGG had. But it doesn't stop the fact that like RNG are on a whole other level, and this is to be expected, or at least I expected it. I don't know how many people expected RNG to be this dominant compared to everybody else, but to my mind, this was to be expected. It's kind of why when the Chinese finals happened, I had zero hesitations of putting them above Damwon in terms of like capabilities, and nothing that Damwon has shown me so far, even though they're almost equally as competitive, breaks into my mind that they would be any better. Not yet, at least. Nothing from the group stages have shown me that. And again, their Royal Never Give Up have a really clean Baron and clean closing to the game, and I think that unfortunately, I preferred the approach to trying to come back to the game that PGG had over Unicorns. Felt very passive to me, and I think that's not that they were passive, but it felt very much how do we put it? Like they were just waiting for the inevitable more than anything else. On to the next set of games. Oh, right, and then as mentioned, UOL is 1-1, and then RNG at the end of this is 3-0. Perfect. As I just put these little icons back. Hey. Isn't OBS a wonderful tool? Perfect. Okay, next we have ourselves Gillette Infinity. Ugh, I hate just Infinity versus the said Damwon, and we'll be able to talk about what I mean about like I don't think Damwon's showing anything right now that like instills confidence that they'll be able to beat RNG. And I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong about some of this stuff, and I'm glad to be. It's really nice to see that I like the teams either improve or show something else, or that like even the best of one formats tend to just show a lot of information that is inconsistent. But it can happen. But that being said, um, Infinity have continued to keep impressing me. Uh, I don't think in any way right now that's enough to move them up further along the list that I had them at, but enough for me to think that they're around the same area that I think that they're pretty close or tied to Detonation. But right now, in terms of how they faced off against Damwon, um, I think that their early game was pretty solid in terms of keeping up. At least the first 5 minutes, they had like a very solid foundation of plan. They placed vision to be able to track the junglers, and unfortunately, the coordination didn't seem to be there for what they were trying to plan to do, because the composition that they had put in place required a lot of early game leads and resources, and Damwon just took advantage of the slow nature of things that the Gillette Infinity, or God, I hate saying Gillette, that Infinity had approached. And personally, I didn't like that once they started becoming really far behind, that they were just trying to like find picks or find niche plays that don't think worked out as well as would have been anticipated for a lot of them, but also wasted a lot of time. In this particular meta this year, it's literally about the tempo and pacing. Like, it doesn't matter if you have a scaling comp, the scaling comp still has to keep up the pace and keep up the tempo. Uh, so, it's really unfortunate with that. But with that, Infinity go 1-1 at that point, and Damwon is 2-0, as Damwon had clean use of resources, were much better at ballooning leads, and had a clean set of neutral objective controls, as well as good Baron and clean close. Damwon showing, however, and this is what I mean though, Damwon's early games, early game problems are showing not just from yesterday's set of games, but today's. Um, they show that they don't have the same kind of the word is not get up and go, but the same uh, positive approach, and I'm talking about like gold positive approach to the early game. They keep making very rash decisions, and it doesn't look like rash decisions on the surface, but the movement that they're making, they're usually skipping a couple of steps because the early game I don't think has settled quite well, and they're really taking advantage of the fact that they have like a higher skill expression across the board with all of their players, and that there tend to be stronger laners also across the board. And that's probably not going to work out for them outside of this group stage, because I do think, unfortunately, that none of the teams have laners that match them pound for pound, other than Cloud9. But Cloud9 has one player that can match, like Showmaker, and that's Perks. And I don't think he can do it that well either. He just kind of survives, as we saw from the other game. So the early game challenges that Damwon have are not going to be challenged in and of itself until probably outside of the groups. All right, next, as I put these little icons back to where they're supposed to go, put that thing back where it came from, and boom. Okay. Next, we've got our Detonation Focus Me versus Cloud9, where I remember saying to not a friend of mine, but like a Discord server that I have amongst like a couple of people in the closest friend group that I have, that I don't think Cloud9 is gonna make like higher than fifth. I don't. I power ranked them at fifth originally when the Vietnamese region was coming in, and I struggled with whether or not PSG was going to be above them or not in total and overall ability, and for a myriad of reasons of the way that like the general region North America was playing in their spring playoffs to how they were playing, how their inability to close things quickly, that they're usually a very early game focused team, and this game pretty much confirms it for me. And again, take everything with a grain of salt. The best of ones, and especially in the round ones, the best of ones, usually only give a cursory glance at some of the minor of the issues or like the positives of each team. They don't usually solidly confirm things. That's why there's the double round robins or the quadruple ones for the group A, that unfortunately PSG and or not, yeah, PGG, not PSG, that PGG and UL have to face. That being said, to this specific game, uh, yo, Detonation, oh, good job with this game. You really pulled it out. I don't think you're necessarily better than Cloud9, but you showed specifically the kind of stuff that you were able to pull off in terms of team fighting capabilities, punishing the plays on a consistent basis, having a solid understanding of map play, even if you're slow at approaching it, and you really called Cloud9 on their misplays for the early game. And to that I say, it feels like Cloud9 are disrespecting, and I might be off basis primarily because like there's like jitters. The casters mentioned this is the first time Blabber is on the main lineup in an international competition, so something might be happening, but that makes no sense to me. Across the board, I think Fudge is the only one who's never been to an international tournament. Maybe I might be wrong on that one, but Sven has been in international tournaments. Falcon has been in international tournaments. Perks, like of all the things, this shouldn't be the team that's being disrespectful. They don't have that kind of caliber, and and even the two teams that could offer to it or have been playing cleanly and not like going hog wild with everything. They play, as some of the casters put it, loosely, as in they're limit testing and they're just seeing what they can do, but then they never reapproach something when they make the same mistake. Blabber's been just absolutely unfortunate is the word. I don't want to be like disparaging or mean, but I don't understand where the thought process is going. I think that like the compositions from both sides are fine. C9 play again to their strengths early game, have good solid jungle tracking, and oh yeah, and Cloud9 have stronger vision overall throughout the entire game. What I think is unfortunate is that Cloud9 frequently kept re-grabbing the tempo and the gold lead of the game every time that they had fumbled it and lost it to Detonation, because Detonation Focus Me was very good at punishing out like mispositions and outplays. They were, however, very hesitant or unable for the most part to balloon any leads that they had developed, or to like really execute in some of the plays that they wanted to do. Fortunately for them, Cloud9 had no idea what they were doing. That's not true. It's not that they had no idea, but they looked like they had lost a set amount of coordination and looked like and I wrote this here. They looked like it's just a random solo queue team, like a random solo queue team of really really strong players, but like still looked like a random solo queue team. They and credit where credit is due. DFM do find a way to close well, and honestly, nice. I love seeing this from the smaller regions. 2 thumbs up from me. Okay. And so with that, you ended up with Detonation Focus Me being 1-1 and Cloud9 being 0-2. And you know what? As somebody who's a fan of CLG and I mean not necessarily North America, but like wants North America to still like do better, their legacy region still one of the is the only legacy region that has not won a world championship, and they really need to fix their shit because this is super unacceptable. Like at this point, come on. Now, with our last set of games going on, we have what? 2 more games? Yeah, 2 more games. We've got ourselves the Fast Pay Wildcats. Let's just. Right, we gotta move the icons. We got our Fast Pay Wildcats versus Mad. And honestly, I'm a little disappointed by Mad's performance. But I think it's because they. Well, let's take a look at some of this, right? The compositions on both sides, and most of the time, it's going to be really hard for me to find anything about the compositions that I dislike because they're best of ones to begin with, but also because people who are trying out things, we're going to be trying out things that are really nice, and I think I enjoy, or I don't think I enjoy and work out, or just don't work out in either case. But a lot of the teams are keeping things close to the chest, and so we're not going to see anything really creative except for Group A, who, you know, they have a bunch of games to play, and they're facing off against the favorites of the tournament. Mad, I think, have set up a great set of plans to approach their opponents, but had some sloppy executions, and I had to work way harder to approach getting the tempo lead again. The Wildcats, however, are doing great to punish across the board, and this is like a solid team. I have like no complaints regarding the approach to the other game that the Wildcats had. Um, it just felt really weird to look at this game. Like, this was a frustrating game to watch, primarily because like you would have one team get a lot of leads, push in. You can show that they had a very solid understanding of how their win condition was supposed to apply. But once the lead was there, try to execute on it, and then fumble and then lose that lead. And it killed a lot of momentum back and forth and back and forth, which, for me, is, I don't know, it kind of it was a little annoying. It's just, that's what it is. It was just annoying to me. So what are the useful things? I like the way that wave manipulation was used by the Wildcats. It helped with a lot of the ways that they were able to solidify their tempo. Mad Lions need to fix the way that they approach the use of their Baron. The way that this game was done, really didn't sell it for me. And it looked also that they didn't know how to close out the game. And it reinforces the idea that out of the tier 1 regions that I have, they look the most like the kid who just turned 18 joining the adult table. And again, not saying this in like in a demeaning way. It just, I think the games almost speak for themselves. The other tier 1 teams were able to beat all of their tier 3 and tier 2 counterparts solidly. Hell, even the tier 2 teams that they had to face, right? Both Damwon and Royal beat tier 2 teams convincingly, and tier 3 teams or tier 4 teams convincingly. And Mad Lions has yet to show that. Right? They played against PSG, which was a tier 2 team, and it wasn't like a solid like stomp. It was close, and PSG, they definitely approached that game much better than they approached this one. And in this one, a team that is clearly worse than PSG, and PSG showing signs of new life, and what we're going to talk about in the next game. The Wildcats here looked like they're equal back and forth, despite the fact that this game definitely was not great. Yeah. Although the vision game from Mad, I have to give top notch. Mwah, very good. Which gives me, and because of small stuff like that, the fact that they have very solid vision, that they still understood how their win conditions were supposed to apply, and honestly, I don't think they had bad use of neutral objectives. No, I don't have any notes specifically one way or the other. So all of those put together still edge out to me that they're going to be fine. I just want them to clean out that issue, because the fact that they're not closing as well as they should, and that they're being reckless, especially during the early game, means that Europe won't be competitive in this tournament, and I don't think that's true. Like, I was watching them in their playoffs, Mad Lions. I was fairly convinced that this would be a competitive region. Yeah, I was pretty convinced. On to the next ones. There's Mad Lion's little icon. Needs to shrink. We get to our last game. We had ourselves Pain Gaming, bless their souls, versus Paris Saint-Germain, also bless their souls. I like both of these teams for different reasons. I like both of these regions. I like both of these teams. I think that Pain had the right idea for what kind of compositions that they should have faced with PSG. Unfortunately, the type of execution that it requires is pretty high, in my opinion, at least for a team within their particular weight class or their tier. While as like PSG just picked what looks like to be just the S tiers all around. And PSG had solid vision tracking, and I was really glad to see that Paris Saint-Germain had looked to pick up steam. It was really good, because it worried me a little bit from the game yesterday that they had versus Cloud9. Was it Cloud9? No, it was against Mad Lions. I'm mixing up groups. Yeah, it kind of worried me that the against Mad Lions that they weren't as competitive. I was expecting them to be a little bit more, and today they showed very little allowance for Pain Gaming to come back in. I appreciate, however, that Pain Gaming has learned to be a bit more proactive with a lot of their plays, especially with the comeback. It's just, unfortunately, the decision of when to do that seems to come short on a regular basis. Across the board, I think there was pretty solid vision game and neutral objective play going around. So, awesome. If you keep it up, Pain Gaming. And, I mean, Pain as a team throughout the playoffs was already the most well-improved team. And hopefully throughout these great group stages, because there's 4 days left. I think 4 days left, yeah, of these teams facing off against each other. So we'll see. Maybe they get 4 games in a row. I doubt it. I really do. But it's really good to see that they're showing signs of improvement on a day-to-day basis. And PSG looked like they had a very clear goal in mind, executed it perfectly, or near flawlessly. And honestly, this was just one of the more fun games for me to watch today. I don't like super stomps, but I do like to see like clean execution against a team that understands what their own limits are as well. There's a lot of times where that they got caught a lot of the times, or that like Pain Gaming attempted to do a dive 2v1 and they would just get killed. Hanabi got really fed. Or, sorry, not Hanabi, Maple. I mean, Hanabi also got fed. A lot of them got fed. It was kind of the nature of it. It was just more of a non-stop, let's get the kills, especially near the end. I really liked the approach to the neutral objective game by PSG, as well as their Baron use. And they closed nicely. I think that was a really solid shot out of PSG. And I was really happy to see it. Yeah. Anywho, with that, I'm going to go over how I updated. So, just as a reminder, or not as a reminder, but like taking a look over here, this is what I ended yesterday's tier list, or like estimated ranking and placements of everything. And for the most part, there's not a lot of changes here. Honestly, I think there's actually a lot of places where teams have gone back to where they were. But I think the more notable thing for me is that so let me just do the switches here. We're moving Cloud9 down one and Paris Saint-Germain up one. And the primary reason for this is because it seems like there's an amount of disrespect going on from Cloud9 and inconsistency about the way to approach closing games. While Paris Saint-Germain have shown to be on an up and up, but also better, clearer understanding of how to close games from their end. I'm moving... Oh, that's not it. Sorry. Moving the Unicorns down one and the Wildcats up one. And you'd be wondering, but why? We don't really know all that much about the Unicorns. True, but we do understand how they approach losing games. And compared to the way that the Wildcats have been approaching things, I honestly think have been a grand and happy surprise for me. But it's mostly because I also think that the Wildcats and the Unicorns are fairly close. So don't be too surprised if I move them back and forth every so often. I switched over also Gillette or Infinity and Detonation Focus Me. Part of it is because Detonation Focus Me won, but the way that they won gives me indications that if these two teams were to face again, it would be close. It would also be close again, and that I think Detonation Focus Me would have would be more prepared to, really play into their win conditions better. And our good friends over here don't change placements. Right now, I think that Pain, if I see something more continuous of like some form of improvement, would probably start competing against these two in terms of jockeying placements up into the list. Yeah, those are my thoughts about day 2. I'll try to be faster on the weekends because I don't work on the weekends, so that means I'll have more free time and be able to probably watch them live. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I don't mind either way. Everybody has a pretty different perspective about the game. Usually the only thing that matters at the end of the day is results, and analyzing results themselves is not nuanced and tends to forget a lot of stuff. But, hey, who knows? If you want to look at the results themselves and that's how it goes, you let me know. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll be putting a playlist over, again, I don't know, right over here for the Road to MSI playoff series analysis stuff that I did before MSI started, as this is where I get most of my informed decisions regarding like how I'm analyzing these best of ones from the tournament based off of their also playoff history. And over here, I'm going to put in the playlist for the so far Clearing Vision series that I've started here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, probably tomorrow. Bye.